Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Significant new allegations against Donald Trump, a newly identified document, and another defendant were unveiled in a court filing yesterday as the Justice Department met with Trump's attorneys, letting them know that an indictment in the January 6th insurrection is imminent. Also, the DOJ has opened a pattern of practice investigation into the Memphis Police Department, signaling that the death of Tyree Nichols was just the tip of the iceberg for that department. Also, Black Women Equal Pay Day was yesterday. We're going to tell you more startling statistics about how little Black women make. And Michael Jackson is back in the news. Yeah, it's all these years after his death, two men who were the subjects of a scathing documentary a couple of years ago on the late King of Pop were back in court, and a three-judge California panel is inclined to allow them to continue their lawsuit against Michael Jackson's companies, alleging that the singer sexually assaulted them as children. We'll have more on that. And Tiffany Haddish, wow, what a heartbreaking story she has. Her eighth miscarriage she suffered recently, her eighth. I'm going to tell you about that, which underscores the ongoing concerns and issues of Black maternal health. We're going to talk about all of that with the Bayou Beat. Nakia Cooper's with us. What's going on, Nakia?
Hello, how are you? Happy
Good.
Friday.
Look at that painting. What's that painting behind you?
I don't know. I don't know who it's by.
Oh,
I know I bought it from Kirkland's and I walked in and it was just a perfect color scheme for my home. And I really do like the way it shows like these two sides of life. It's just like these two feelings. And it just really spoke to me. But it's just one I just found in a little home store. So thank you. I really like it.
yeah, it's popping. I like it.
Thank you.
That's an old expression, right? Popping that. I don't know
I
what
still
was.
use it. I still
I
use
right, I feel
it.
you. There you go, or something like that. Whatever. So, Nakia, big news, big doings yesterday. First and foremost, Donald Trump's lawyers met with Special Counsel Jack Smith's team for more than an hour yesterday. Of course, Trump cast his spin on it, but his spin was really interesting. Again, he says, I don't think they're going to indict me because they know that my supporters will disrupt this country. What kind of defense is that? Number one, but Trump also got some, as he was posting that ridiculous comment about his legal perils. He got some more bad news after that meeting on the January 6th grand jury. A bombshell dropped on his classified documents case that would have just about any other person alive
Mhm.
going to prison or at least being detained right now in a superseding indictment, which adds to the more than 37 charges against the former president. It was revealed that Donald Trump requested that an employee at his Mar-a-Lago resort delete security camera footage at his Florida golf club to prevent the footage from being provided to a federal grand jury, according to this indictment. This is the basis of one of the new obstruction related charges against Donald Trump that were made public yesterday. Trump employees Walt Norda and Carlos de Oliveira, also de Oliveira, all are also charged with this crime. Trump's employees attempted to delete the security camera footage, and it was like a Keystone Cops thing there
Mhm.
because Carlos says to Walt, and apparently all of this is caught on security camera tape.
Mhm.
Um, Listen, I don't know. The boss wants us to delete this, but I don't know how to delete it.
Mhm.
It's just unreal. But here's the other thing. First of all, Carlos is a maintenance worker at Mar-a-Lago, so chances are he doesn't do a whole lot with these security camera footages and things like that. But he says that According to Jack Smith, one of the documents, excuse me, one of the documents was about U.S. plans to attack Iran.
Mm.
This is serious.
Everything is serious when it comes to Donald Trump, but the thing is, does anything surprise us anymore? No, it does not, right? And when you say it's the Keystone Cops, it really is. Well, talking about his staff, but we're also talking about the way that this government and presidency has run under, since his election and thereafter, right? Everything, and I hate to say this because I'm telling people, I really do mean this. I was a huge fan of Donald Trump with The Apprentice and all of that kind of stuff, right? I mean, I wanted to be on The Apprentice. I wanted to be a project manager. I wanted to do all of these amazing things, but that was Donald Trump, the entertainer, right? Or Donald
Hmm.
Trump, the person who said you're fired. The Donald Trump who was the president possibly should never have been the president. I don't know. But guess what? He won the election. He doesn't operate as a president, and we can't expect him to. He never has. Everything that he's done, he's received attention and not really even a slap on the wrist. When he was indicted and he was taken down, and I remember they released it to the news. Now, maybe something happened and I didn't remember. I mean, I didn't follow up, but remember they fingerprinted him, but they didn't take his mugshot or whatnot and
Right,
didn't
right.
release that to the public. Okay. Everything about him is special counsel, if you will. What is going to be done about it? Nothing. This is political theater for Donald Trump. He loves this stuff. This stuff turns him on. And if I could say it, if Donald Trump was a rapper today, he said, "I'm not scared." He is not. He does not care. And I think he doesn't like embarrassment,
Well,
right?
here's the
But
serious thing, though. It's all and we're going to talk about Georgia too, because barricades went up yesterday,
oh
started
yeah.
going up around the courthouse there in Fulton County, where Fonnie Willis is about to indict Trump. We know
Mhm.
that that indictment is coming, but here's the thing with this documents case. What makes it even more serious, of course, we mentioned the fact that he also had classified documents that show that the U.S. was going to, or at least had plans to attack Iran. But he got four other people involved, right? And he
Mhm.
and he promised, knowing that it was a crime.
Mhm.
Excuse me. He promised to get them attorneys.
Correct. I mean, it's just a Trump chess move. I mean, and it is what it is. It's like, hey, he controls everybody. He controls his staff. When they were hired by him, they knew let's just say when they accepted the position, they knew who they were working for, right?
He calls
He
them 2 weeks before the
uh-huh,
thing and says, "Look, if this thing goes sour, I'll get you attorneys,"
correct. And
knowing it's a
see,
crime.
somebody, but look at this. It's we can't expect him to use logical judgment, right? But what about the person who says it? If this thing goes out, that's when you're supposed to say, "Hey, bruh, you know what? You on your own with that. I'm not going to do that." When somebody tells you, "If it goes well, I'll get you a lawyer." See, the common man, or the smart man, or the wise man, or the man that is afraid of those bars would say, "I'm sorry, I feel I'm uncomfortable. I mean, I just can't do it." Because when you're
Yeah, but
telling
can
me
you
I'm
see
going
the
to get you a
lawn
lawyer,
guy?
you're letting me know that this is a crime.
But Nakia, can you see the maintenance guy or the lawn guy? Trump going to them at Mar-a-Lago, and he's saying, "Listen, I need you to do this." Can you see them saying no?
I'm going to tell you yes. Let me tell you why. Because you're the maintenance guy. And at the end of the day, when Donald Trump, when you are behind bars, look at the way he's turned his back on a lot of his cronies, right?
Oh yeah.
You're just the maintenance guy. He will roll your ass under that bus and walk off with no remorse. And this is what I have to say about them putting up the barricades. I do not think we will see another insurrection. You know why?
Mm.
Because as long as it took, some white folks got punished. And it not enough. Not enough. And I'm just meaning, and I'm not saying it's because they're white or black. I'm just telling you who was out there.
Right,
Some
right.
of them got punished. and some of the
A lot of
sentences are
them.
now getting lengthier and lengthier, right?
Hmm.
And even when cowards were afraid, even cowards within the political Republican Party were afraid to speak out against him and kept getting involved in this foolishness that they knew was untrue, they're starting to pull back the base. See, all you got to do is lock up a few, and the rest of them will say, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Right, which is what the maintenance guy and the other person should have did. But that's my thing. Put up the barricades. We get it.
But
But
he is still the Republican front runner for the 2024
oh, of course,
presidential. Now he is still favored to win the presidency again.
right. But look at his competitors. Let's just say that. Look at his competitors. One of them is almost as bad as him. You know,
Almost.
there you go. Is it almost or worse?
Are we
Right.
talking about that guy in Florida?
That's the one we're talking about. That one that is just, he has been empowered to stretch his wings and wag his tongue and say everything that he wants to say.
DeSantis is laying campaign workers off. He's asking people to work for him for free. His campaign is really in trouble.
Hmm. This is not even this is not going to be a presidential election because nothing about it is presidential. I'm sorry, and I know I'm not supposed to say this, but the Republicans, you guys really, either you're showing the way that you really were, either we're removing the cloaks, right? Or are we all falling for stupid?
Yeah, but Nikki, let me ask you
What
this
is it
though.
that you're doing?
Yeah, but let me ask you this. So we know that all of these Republican led states, controlled states, right? And and
Hmm.
and 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 all of them pretty much are battleground states, right? We know what they've been doing. We talk about this on the show a lot. How the Republicans always plan for years and years ahead. If that election next year
Hmm.
is even close in any way, how do you stop them from taking or to take their phrase, stealing the election? They're now in a better position in 2024 than they were in 2020, which is why
Hmm.
things imploded in 2020
Right.
because they wasn't in the type of position they're in now.
I think the elections right now, and because working, we all are media people, right? I'm going to equate it to hurricane season. So every year we keep getting, and right now, even with the weather, the temperature, every year we're having record breaking heat. I mean, right? Every day we're having record breaking heat. Every hurricane season gets worse and worse. And then what do? You go out and you prepare. So in preparation for this hurricane season, I am very proud to say I got me a generator. Okay, so I got me a home generator, and I'm waiting for that to kick in because I didn't want to go through what I went through last hurricane season, right? And last winter freeze. So what people have to do now is to get prepared because trust me, well, they already know they're getting prepared, and they're not really even. I don't think the Republicans are really prepared. I just think that they're going to show up, right? The fools are going to show up on election day, and they're going to make sure that their voices are heard. So what are we going to do? The other people who are not foolish, and I don't mean whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. I mean whether you are a sound and sensible person who cares about your future. It is time to get prepared because some people believe that this is political theater. Some people think it's musical theater. Some people think it's musical chairs. Some people think it's all of this. You have to get prepared. And the way that we beat them, Republican or Democrat, is to go out there and vote because just because you're Republican, you don't need. I think right about now we're going to have to start just diminishing our views on party lines and go for the right man for the job. Because at the end of the day, it's not about red or blue for me. It's about who is going to protect me, who is going to make sure that my children have a future, who is going to make sure that we'll get to that soon, that I have equal pay, who's going to really, you see how they're getting rid of these DEI jobs every day, but that's another story, another topic, and I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure you
Hmm.
covered it or will. What are we going to do? We are going to get prepared to fight. And it's just another hurricane season that we have to get ready for. And we really need to be armed with information, stand out there, do what you need to do, get in line like it's a Beatles concert from 1960. I mean, like that's what you have to do,
What?
right? You need to be out there, get in line. stand out there like you out there for Michael
What?
Jackson tickets. Okay, you need to be out there like you are Michael Jackson. You are
I was
waiting to
going to
see
say,
Michael
why she go
Jackson.
to the Beatles? I mean, you got Beyonce selling millions of tickets right now.
I
You
know I
got
had to shake you up and wake you up this morning. I got to do that for you, right? I knew I would make you
you
fall out,
just
but
did
that's the
not go to the
thing. Let's
Beatles.
get in line. Let's get in line. And that's just it's just one day,
But we
election
see,
day.
and Greer points this out, and it's so true how desperate. And you mentioned both sides. Both sides are because you got while you got Mitch McConnell and them trying to pretty much
Woo,
hide what he his failings and
his
or
illness.
his health failings. Dianne Feinstein is like 500 years old, and
Hmm.
they're basically grabbing her hand and put
And so,
telling her how to vote. So both sides, to your point, both sides are desperate.
they're desperate. And guess what? We need to get some of these people in the Supreme Court out of the Supreme Court. We can't do nothing with them.
Well, and the
It's
point,
just like that.
the problem is, the problem with that is their lifetime appointments. We've had
That's
that
what I was just
discussion.
about to say. Just like when you said, some of them you got to roll them out of there. You just got to wait for them to graciously retire, and a lot of people aren't. You know.
Yeah, and then look, and and again, I've got to credit Greer for bringing this up at this point, but she mentions RFK Jr., who is running
Yes.
on Democrat side, but if you look at all of his donors and all his backers, they're Republicans.
Yeah.
So
That's the
it's
thing.
almost like, okay, again, it's a chess move by Republicans because what does that do? And the polls
Split
show,
the vote.
yeah, the polls show that RFK is running a fairly competitive race right now with
Hmm.
President Biden.
Yeah. You got to split that vote. If they have to, in order to, I don't want to say, beat Trump or beat the MAGAs. I don't want to even be like this, right? Because, like I said, once upon a time, I really did like Donald Trump. I just can't tell you whether or not I believe that he would be, that I would want him to be my president again. You know,
Um, uh,
got to People have got to stand up. People can say whatever they want to say, and they can take the pictures and stay silent, and they can, you know, hold themselves up in one way. But when you get into that ballot box where there is nothing but you and that button and that spin wheel, right? That's when you're gonna shock some people. I do not believe that all of his people will stand by him.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I believe I do believe a lot of the candidates will have to vote that way when they're when they're casting their vote because they're trying to retain their seat, right?
Mhm.
But I think that people are starting to see through it. And we'll see. I think the test is going to be, if they bring those charges down, will they be out there like January 6th?
Well, let's you say if they bring the charges,
I mean, you know
and
what I mean.
no, right, no, I want to stay. I wanted to sit there for a second because um, here's a guy, um, Trump, and I'm saying this because you've made it clear that before he was president, I mean, at least before he was president, you liked the guy,
Yeah, I
right?
did.
Um, so he's been a civil jury this year alone found him liable for sex assault. He is his company was convicted
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
financial crimes. His chief financial officer went to jail
Hmm.
in New York. He's indicted in New York on over 30 financial charges. He's indicted on now over 40 federal documents cases, and he, of course, is twice impeached,
Yeah.
and has led and has led a this is a guy that said on in Charlottesville that those white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever, those are good people. This is a guy
Hmm.
who has continually um, pushed. You talk about DeSantis. This DeSantis has mimicked Trump in a lot of ways, but he's
Hmm.
tried to go even above Trump. But having said all of that, um, how is this guy electable?
Well, you know what they say, the fools rush in, right? And some people are just unwilling to say, we got this wrong. I think that racism in America is driving America. I'm almost thinking that the C in America need to be replaced with a KKK, AMERIKKA.
Hmm.
I hate saying that. A black man, like you just listed all of the things that Donald Trump has done. A black man have a busted tail light. He's going to sit in jail for 30 days
Hmm.
and longer if they can keep him there.
Yeah.
Longer if they can keep him there. Your paperwork will be lost if you smart off to an officer. What do they say? We're going to put you in the van with no seatbelt. We're going to throw you in the gladiator tank.
Mm.
We're going to put you with an offender who's a violent offender when you're just in there for a busted tail light.
But busted. Well, you know what? That's a good segue to what's going on in Memphis. Christian
Oh,
Clarke, the
Lord, yes.
Assistant U.S. Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, and U.S. Attorney Kevin Ritz of the Western District of Tennessee launched an investigation. They announced yesterday they launched an investigation to determine a pattern of civil rights violations allegedly committed by the Memphis Police Department. This comes after, of course, what happened with Tyree Nichols, the 29-year-old
Mm-hmm.
who was beaten, tasered, pepper sprayed, and everything else during a traffic stop. Um, this pattern of practice, and they of course, one of the things that stood out, Christian Clarke was saying, we know about this Scorpion unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was responsible. Those officers are they're under arrest, et cetera, et cetera. But she said that this did not center around that Scorpion unit. She said it's the entire
It's the entire
department.
department. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, because the Scorpion unit was empowered to do what they did because that department, it had to start somewhere. Let me tell you something. If it wasn't all of them, you would never have a group of black men, right? A group of black officers that can reign terror and beat the hell out of somebody if they hadn't been empowered to do it by the white ones that are also there, right? Because let me tell you, if it was just them, oh, they'd have been locked up a long time ago. Okay. If you go back, and I love me some pop culture. I love some, I'm a movie person. If you go back to Boys in the Hood, that scene, right, when it was the black officer, remember that him, Lawrence Fishburne up,
Hmm.
and Furious Styles, right? And he was saying the word nigga, right? He was empowered with that badge. He had his white officer there, but he was worse than the white officer. But trust me, they got down together. And then they use some people and they'll turn you against your own kind to make you think every last one of y'all are crooks and criminals and this and that. I say the entire department must be. I've never been to Memphis, and right now I don't want to go, and especially not with a busted tail light. Okay, let's
You
just
and
say
this
that.
busted tail light.
It's just a bust. That's because that's how they pull you over these
That's
days. It's a
yeah.
busted tail light. You better make sure that everything is working. I have my son is now 19 and my nephew is 19, and they need to check everything before you drive off, especially at night. And
You
I'll
know
just
what? I have to say, and I think I said this a few months ago when it happened. And I hate to say this
mm-hmm.
because, you know, let me just say it. So I'm in the car, and if you've heard this story before, I'm sorry, but I'll make
Okay.
it quick. I'm in the car with my daughter, and a cop, a state trooper pulls us out. We're not on the highway, but a state trooper pulls aside of us, and he's trying to get. And my daughter says, he's trying to get your attention, Dad. I'm like, okay. So I roll the window down, and he says, hey, he said, do you mind if I get in front of you, because I'm gonna pull. We had a light. I'm gonna pull that car in front of you over. And I looked ahead of me, and there was a white woman, I believe, that was driving the car, and apparently she had expired tags.
There you go.
I mean, I saw the expired tag, so I assumed that's why he was pulling her over. But I was like, sure. And so I let him go because there was construction, and the only way for him to get around, I mean, he could have turned his lights on. We could have, but even if he turned his lights on the siren, he couldn't get over unless I moved.
Okay.
And so my point, what I'm driving at is, and this is why I say, I kind of feel bad saying this, but then you got to understand why I'm saying it. If that was a black
Mhm.
man,
Mhm.
young man, or a woman, or black woman,
Mhm.
I probably would have been like this. Oh, I'm sorry, my car won't start. I mean,
Yeah, that's okay. Then he'd have arrested you. And here's my other thing: if that was a black young man, right, or woman, right now, if that person was not a white person that he was pulling over for expired tags, the chances are likely that you would have had a front page story that day
well, the problem, and that's the thing,
because
and that's
that
why I
thing would
say
have
that. It's like,
went south. Hmm.
yeah, that's why I said, how would I have felt had I had it been a black person? He pulled them over, and what happens, right? And this African American individual lost their life,
Hmm.
um, because I let this cop pull them over. It's like, because, and this is the mindset today. It's like, oh my gosh, you wonder, anything can happen in a traffic stop.
At a
You
traffic stop.
Right, you realize you don't have to. We've been talking about this a lot. You don't have to do anything wrong. You can go by the book, and yet things can still happen.
But
But
this is the
anyway.
thing, they happen because the leadership at the top. It's about the police chiefs and the sergeants and the people
Yeah,
who have those briefings every morning before they go out, right? Before they go out, they need to pray over themselves and pray that they return home safely, because that's what we do, because we love our law enforcement, but we also ask that our law enforcement loves us back. And
well,
so, are you going to have those kind of briefings when you pray over yourselves that day before you leave out for work? Do you also pray for the individuals who are out here on the streets that you are has been sworn in to protect? And I don't believe that. Stop looking at every last one of us as a criminal. Yes, we do have criminals out there, but everybody is not a criminal. Tyree Nichols was not a criminal, and we can go back down a laundry list of people who weren't. And it's, oops, I accidentally shot you. I thought it was a taser. Oops, I accidentally, really. You know, oops, well, I'm just gonna go sit in jail for a minute. I'll be out in a minute. You know what I mean? Low security.
mm,
Like that's that kind of things. We have to, black people, we panic and we sit there, we're sweating profusely, we get pulled over for a traffic stop, and we have to immediately go on Facebook Live to let people know I just got pulled over by a traffic, by a cop, and just watch it if something goes down. And even when you got the cameras on, you still have somebody look at Philando Castile, right?
yeah, yeah.
It doesn't
So,
matter. I have to. The other day, I got pulled over because I had to. They said I was on the toll road without having my tip sticker. But okay, and my friend was like, I had to put her on speaker, had it turned up, and then I just was like, I said absolutely nothing to him, and he asked for, well, your insurance. I don't need you. You can run my insurance from my license plate. Right? That's what you can do. Don't ask me to reach for anything because I'm black, I'm tired, and I'm late for work. You go and pull it up that way.
black, tired, and late for work. So
There you go.
again,
That's a bad situation. That means, and he read it. He read it for me. See, an agitated black woman.
well,
There you
listen,
go.
let's segue to black women. Yesterday represented the extra number of days into the current year that a black woman must work
Oh,
to earn the same amount that a white non-Hispanic man earned by the end of 2022. It's called Black Women's Equal Pay Day. Black Women's Equal Pay Day is about the dollars and cents. However, it's also about time lost, opportunities drained, and the extreme fatigue they endure just to catch up. Black women working full time, year round, are paid 67 cents for every dollar paid to non-Hispanic white men, according to the National Women's Law Center. Um, that loss of income, right? So
mhm.
altogether, first of all earners, including part-time and seasonal, are paid 64 cents over the course of an average black woman's career. That loss of income adds up to almost $1 million compared to
Yeah.
white men. So if you think about that, Nakia, nearly $1 million, money that could be passed down to your kids, your grandkids, invested in properties, used for better neighborhoods, more trips, more security, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, you shouldn't even get me riled up this morning, even though you did from the first topic, right? I am one of those black women who, and guess what? There's, I'm saying it as if I'm just like as if I'm unique. No, I'm one of the soldiers out here. There's so many of us, and all of us most likely are underpaid, right? And it's sickening. I walk in a world every day of walking white privilege, right? Because I work in corporate America, newsrooms, you see, and it's not just with Hispanic men and white men, it's white women too. Black women have to be, it's like I have to almost brag on myself to let you know, and I shouldn't have to do that, and it looks like it's bragging. I have to shout my credentials to your ass all the time because I'm tired of you saying, and I'm letting you know, no, I have my bachelor's in this, I have my master's in this, I'm certified in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have my own newspaper. I manage a department at a newsroom. I'm the president of the Houston Association of Black Journalists. I'm on the chair of XYZ. My credential list is long, okay? It's long, and a sister has her things going on. But guess what? I'm a sister. I'm a sister, and I have to sit up here and fight for equal pay or
Equal pay.
just decent pay when you have walking white privilege going around effing up departments. You have them going around dropping the ball, not doing anything. And the same thing, a black woman does not have that liberty. We have to go harder, stronger, and we have to always make sure we check our boxes. It is disgusting. It needs to end, and it makes us look like we're the angry sister in the room. And I'm always having to talk without rolling my neck. But I'm good because I don't want to be stereotyped, right? So it's just, yes, I got you. And did you also know?
Miss Snoop Dogg when you need him.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. And it's just, and I have to sit here, and then when I tell you, well, actually, I do know this. And actually, I'm going to give you my idea. And this is why I have to back up why you should even take my idea, because I have X, Y, and Z. And I
Uh-oh.
mean that. Like, I mean, I tell sisters all the time, we have to go out and get all our letters, right? The BAs, the MAs, the PhDs, the DEIs. We have to go get everything. And still, they think we're not worthy. And the way they show you they think you're not worthy is because what? With your pay. But guess what? When shit hits the fan, who do you call? A black woman to the rescue.
Yeah,
It
David
really
Youngblood
is.
says black men and black women have to always show up and show out to be considered.
Mhm.
Listen, so
And that's tiring.
and Mike V says, I work in the cybersecurity and it's no different for black men as well. Timothy Williams says, racism has always driven America. So this next topic, Nakia, is probably going to, I hope it doesn't get ugly.
Okay.
So,
Don't start none, it won't be none then.
listen, I know where you sit on this individual we're going to talk about, and there's a very personal connection for me on this individual we're
Oh,
going
I
to
know
talk
what you're
about.
about to talk about.
But we got to talk about it. At
Okay.
least I think we got to talk about it.
Come
Wade
on with it.
Robson and James Safechuck, two former close friends of the late Michael Jackson and subjects of an incredible documentary about the King of Pop, are set to face off against the singers' companies once again after a California appeals court permitted their long-standing sexual abuse lawsuits to resume. In 2013 and 2014, respectively, they Robson and Safechuck filed lawsuits against Michael's estate and two corporations owned solely by Michael Jackson, MJJ Productions and MJJ Ventures, alleging that the late icon sexually abused them during their childhood. However, a judge dismissed both cases in 2017 due to the state's statute of limitations. And 3 years later, after California lawmakers extended the state statute of limitations for sexual abuse cases, the cases received new life. So the new statute, Nakia, allowed both Robson and Safechuck to return their allegations to court. And this week, a panel heard their arguments, and it is believed that they will allow them to pursue their lawsuit against Michael Jackson's companies. Now, Michael Jackson's estate said that the companies are not should not be held responsible for Michael Jackson's behavior.
Hmm. So this one is tricky because, like, and one thing I have to say, oh my Lord, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. My name is Nakia Pyt Cooper. Pretty young thing. That's no. Once upon a time, I was. I mean, I don't think you could have a bigger Michael Jackson fan. I'm almost inclined to say, I think, oh, and I might get beat up for this. They might need to sue their parents who sent them there.
Yeah, there's a case. Let me say this part. When Michael Jackson went to trial,
Mm-hmm.
um, in 2005, um, I was at the trial. I actually testified at the trial,
Mm-hmm.
and just before I took the stand, the mother of the young boy who Michael Jackson paid about 40 something million dollars to
About.
settle claims in 1993, took the stand just before me. I mean, she was striking in her beauty. This
Mm-hmm.
woman, um, and
Was she black or white? I just gotta ask.
she was not neither. She was Asian,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
um, and and I'm me. I'm attracted to black women, but
No, that's not why.
she
I'm
was
just
no,
asking
no,
because
no.
I'm
I'm
trying to
just
see who
saying.
want to
I
say.
just had to say that just to say it, uh,
Clear it up,
just to set
brother.
the record straight.
Yeah.
But what was even more striking, my point is, what was more striking than her beauty is what she said on that witness stand. And Michael
What?
Jackson, let me tell you, the witness stand was here, and Michael seated right here. So he's looking at you the whole time and whatever. But she said, at that point, she hadn't spoken to her son in about a decade. That
Mm.
she said, I sold my son.
Come
This is
on
her
with it.
exact
That's what I'm
words
talking
to
about.
Michael Jackson. It was the
Hmm.
most striking thing. She says, I don't deserve him.
That's
I don't
right.
deserve my son. I don't deserve his attention or his love because of what I did. This was
Hmm.
my fault. She said
Hmm.
that I sent my little boy with this grown man who I
That's
did
right.
not know. The only thing I
That's
knew
right.
about him was that he was the king of pop.
Uh-huh. But let me tell you
Everybody wanted to
something.
be around him.
Everybody wanted to be around him, but they had those rumors out about him a long time ago. They
Well,
always
you got
had
to
those rumors out.
understand.
If they
You
were
got to
false, they
understand.
were
Let
false.
me let me let me say this. You got to understand that this particular woman, her child, was the first time that there was an allegation against Michael Jackson. He went way back. This went way back. The trial was about not that particular alleged victim, but another a cancer survivor, in fact, who I had a chance to speak with a few times, and but the trial was about a different case. They had brought in others who had. It was discovered that Michael Jackson had paid out millions of dollars, including a youth pastor who did not even know that his mother had received
Yeah.
something like a $5 million settlement from Michael Jackson because she allegedly caught Michael molesting her child. He was a youth
Hmm.
pastor, and he testified that yeah, this was happening, but I just never knew that there was a settlement. Um,
Oh,
but in this
gosh.
case of Wade, now, so the problem, let's get to the at
With
hand.
Wade.
So
Hmm.
Wade Robson testified also at that trial in
Hmm.
2005.
And didn't he
He
say that nothing happened?
he testified that nothing happened.
Right.
James Safechuck, they tried desperately. Michael Jackson and his team tried desperately to get James Safechuck and James refused to take any of Michael Jackson's calls. He
Hmm.
was traumatized. He would not defend Michael Jackson at the trial, and he's never spoken publicly until leaving Neverland. And if you watch that documentary, and again, look, again, um, the jury in 2005 came back with 13 not guilties against Michael Jackson.
Hmm.
You got to say that. But
Oh, I remember he released the doves and did the spin
yeah, in fact,
on
the
the
lady who
limousine.
released the doves, I was standing right next to her when she released those doves. Um, but Save Chuck and Robson, If you watch that documentary, as angry as you were when you watched the R. Kelly documentary,
Okay.
if you had any type of objectivity, any type of in my opinion, any type of humanity about you, your heart would have broke for these two men watching that documentary, watching those interviews up close. Um, Now people could say they're not telling the truth or whatever. That's
Right,
as
because
David Youngblood says, let it go forward. If they have proof of abuse, so be it. Let it go forward.
but Wade
Um,
Robinson testified that there was no abuse.
yeah, and
And
when he
now he's
testified,
saying,
let me say this, Nakia. When he testified that there was no abuse, prosecutors presented evidence of abuse, and he still denied. And there, listen, when there's a stat, and everybody can look this up. The FBI says that most, and I'm gonna get to a specific number in a second, most men or boys who were
mhm, I
molested
know.
by men always deny it.
Correct.
Now, 99.95% of boys, according to the FBI's stats, 99.95% of boys who say that they were molested by a man has told the truth about the molestation.
Hmm. Right, because it's already very hard for you to even say it, right? Because it is like they said, you don't want it to feel like you're not a man. No man wants to admit that that happened to him. The thing about Mr. Robson and everything like that is I do feel for him, and do I believe that he was a victim? I believe that I believe I'm sorry, but I believe that definitely they were definitely all potential victims, because what grown man wants these children laying in bed with him? That's beyond me. You see, I have to close
He
my
said he
eyes
gave
because
him
I used
milk
to
and
say
cookies,
it. Yeah,
warm milk and
and
cookies.
oh yeah, yeah, and Jesus juice. I remember something like that, right? I understand, I know it, but I also, so yes, does he have a right to pursue this? Absolutely. Do
Well,
I
here's the
also
problem
think
I
that
have.
I think that let me say this. I
Mhm.
think that they probably already been paid already before.
I don't think they were.
You don't think they were?
No, because and
Everybody else would.
the reason I say that is because I happen to really know these two guys' history,
Gotcha.
and so I don't think they were. And Wade, by the way, used to date one of Michael's nieces.
Yeah.
Um, but that's something else that went on there that was just unusual about all of this. But I will say that that it's hard for somebody to come back after going on a witness stand under oath.
Yeah, that's what's hard.
Now Safechuck didn't do that, and it turns out that Safechuck's case was the most difficult case to get this far, um, because he did not was he did not come forward in a timely manner, and so thus the law has changed. And that's what I was going to say. The one thing that I don't know how I feel about the laws that are changing, to say that folks who the statute of limitations expired, and then later on they say that this look back thing, where if within a year you remember something, you have a year from that. So I can tell you that I can just say I remember this, and now I can bring a lawsuit.
I just think, well, a lot of memories are repressed, right? And as we do that to protect ourselves. And so, what I do have to say is that if these, if it is proven that Wade Robson and the other one if they're victims, absolutely, sue the pants off of his companies and everything else, right? Because under the law, you can. It's
I'm just
just one of
conflicted
those
with the new
things.
laws. That's all.
Yeah, I
I'm
know. Like you said,
conflicted
that you can bring it back up, right?
because
Because right
when you
now,
look at,
Michael Jackson's not here to
yeah,
defend
he's not here to
himself.
defend himself.
Hmm.
You look at other cases. Timothy says I don't think there should be a statute of limitation, and that's fine. That's fine too. But I don't. I think again, it's like the Me Too movement, right? Was created. A black woman created it to bring attention to the things that were happening in the workplace to black women in particular, and it was hijacked by white Hollywood, the Me
Yeah.
Too movement, um, and so this, if you don't have a statute of limitations on that, look, especially on, I agree. Maybe I sound a little conflicted, but I do agree with that, Timothy, about the statute, especially on child
Hmm.
sexual assault.
I think on
Um,
any sexual assault.
yeah, yeah, right. You're right. You're right. Absolutely. I shouldn't qualify it. All sexual assault. There should
Hmm.
not be a statute of
Because
limitation.
it takes so many people so much time to get over it and to move on and finally get that courage to say, I was victimized by you, you did it,
Hmm.
and I'm strong enough now to take you down.
Yeah, and Timothy also talked about two grown men that have been raped. They were, you got to remember, they were 8 and 9 years old when it happened. They were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old when these things were going on. And I know in Wade's case, he went on to have a family of his own, and and you talk to most psychologists and psychiatrists, when he had his child, when his wife had his child, that's what triggered it for
Triggered it.
him.
The protection.
Yes. And that
That
is a normal trigger.
that is.
Safechuck, if you again, I keep going back to that documentary that, of course the Jackson family disparaged the documentary. They said you shouldn't pay attention to it. But when you watch that documentary, and if you haven't watched it, if it's up to you, but I recommend it. Only even if you don't believe them, you have to see, even by the admissions of Jackson supporters, how manipulative Michael Jackson was, and some of that stuff was unintentional manipulation, if you could believe that. It was
Mm,
just because, and having been around him, here's the
okay.
thing. He possesses something, or possessed something, that I feel like I've only known maybe two or three people who possess this. When you are in their presence, you're in stream, and I'm sure Beyonce, if fans, or anybody who's been around Beyonce might feel this way. I've never been around Beyonce, but there's this thing that just simply draws you to him. And the thing with Michael Jackson is, and people, his detractors, is always said he's always played the victim. The thing about it, you always looked at him and felt like he was a victim. You always felt, if you knew him, if you were around him. I mean, I wasn't intimate with him to know. I didn't know him like say Wade knew him, but I always felt, you felt sorry for him. Here's the biggest star in the world. And you felt sorry. I felt sorry for him.
Because you thought that, oh my God, he's just this child, and like he's so childlike, he's been so sheltered. That's the thing. When you look at him, see, he was one of those enigmas. I can't really put my nobody. I don't think anybody could put their finger on it. He was so strange, right? If you just even the outside persona, I so imagine being, but I still wouldn't leave my children around his ass. That would have never happened
Right.
because he's a grown man at the end of the day, strange or not.
So,
You
right.
know, sitting up
Grown
here
man.
whispering, talking light, and all in my child's face. No, we're not
Yeah.
doing that. You're
And
not sitting sleeping in bed with him, eating
Timothy
milk
Williams
and
said,
cookies.
uh, Timothy Williams is exactly, she hit a home run with this comment. Hurt people, hurt people. He was a victim, and totally, that's a whole nother story. We're gonna have to move on, but I totally believe that he was a victim himself of
I
the same
know.
crimes that he allegedly committed.
So you think somebody was molesting him?
There is
No.
absolutely no doubt. I am 100% certain that he was a victim of molestation himself.
Ooh, we need to have an offside conversation. You need to have a book because I can't imagine anybody who would be molesting him. I mean, like, and I
Well, you got to
definitely
remember,
can't say.
you got to remember, it's like every other celebrity, every other athlete, every other celebrity. Like I said, they were childs at one point too. They had to grow up,
Okay.
and so there is evidence that this
Okay.
man, this as a child, was molested.
Okay.
So
I've never thought about that before.
so Timothy Williams's comment really rings a bell there. And David Youngblood said he was a child star in a grown world, and that indeed he was, and that is a key. That is
Okay.
a key. Um, Power
Okay.
96 says it's Friday. Please end on a happy note. I'm not sure if this next story
I
is
don't
going
think
to
it's.
allow for us to end on such a happy note, and maybe it would. Actress Tiffany Haddish has shared her emotional fertility journey,
Mhm.
shedding light on her challenges and the continued challenges Black women have with childbirth. The 43-year-old actress and comedian revealed that she recently experienced, folks, this is heartbreaking. She recently experienced her eighth miscarriage. She says, I'm
Mhm.
going to be honest with you. This would be my eighth miscarriage. I've got a uterus shaped like a heart. It
Mhm.
just won't keep anything in. How heartbreaking is that? Eight?
Mhm.
I mean, come on, Nakia. You obviously you're a woman, and
Mhm.
childbirth and and child and having that those are special, special, special things that us men could never begin to appreciate.
Right. I so and that's gosh, I'm one of those people. I'm telling you, I'm always like, God, I hate to be one of those one-upsmen kind of things that always says everything I can relate to. But in
Hmm.
this instance, I really can. My heart goes out to Tiffany. It is. I know so many women who have lost children, who we're taught we can't even get excited, or it's not recommended for us to get excited or even talk about your pregnancy until you make it safely out of the first trimester, right? Because we do suffer such loss. I had four miscarriages before I gave birth to my son. He was my successful pregnancy, and that's why I think that when people say, oh, you dote on that boy, and it's just like, guess what? Because everybody, the odds were against him. And our story was, even when he was born, I always tell people that little sucker hid inside of me for he's hid inside. I didn't know that I was pregnant until I was 5 months pregnant. I didn't even have a stomach. I wasn't showing anything. And then when I had an inkling that I was pregnant and I was started bleeding, and I said, oh, I must be pregnant. I'm having another miscarriage. Let me just go to the doctor and let them just, take care of it so that I can go to school the next day. I was a freshman in college. But I was an older student returning. And so I went, and then they said, okay, yes, you're pregnant. I remember he looked, and he said, and it looks like it could be a boy. Think about this. On the day that I found out that I was pregnant, then that's when they found out that they said that it looks like it was a boy. I'm in the emergency room thinking that I'm having a miscarriage. Was, as it turns out, I was having a high risk pregnancy. I had to get a maternal fetal specialist. And so the next 4 months was me trying to save my child's life, right? And because I had a placenta previa, that's a whole other thing. So it's like, after you have all of the miscarriages, sometimes your body is just not ready to, because I wasn't
Hmm.
able to carry that child. And I remember my doctor, he said, when I did go to a doctor, he said, I can't handle you, Miss Cooper, because you're going to have to go get a specialist. And the specialist like, no, you're not as severe enough. We're going to send you back to the doctor and until your regular OBGYN. And I'm going in, this is my first pregnancy that I'm actually carrying, right? Because I've made it to another trimester. And so when I went to a place, and I don't want to call them out here, but I will, but I'm not today. It was an imaging place for an ultrasound. They
Hmm.
gave me an ultrasound. And I remember the ultrasound tech was being trained on me. I remember the woman kept saying, everything is a roadmap. Find the femur, find this, it's a roadmap. So when I went to my next doctor's appointment, my OB pulled me in and he said, we need to discuss the baby. And I said, okay. And this is before they was like, you got to go see a maternal fetal specialist. He says, I don't recommend that this child be carried to term. I recommend that you terminate. He said his internal organs were either shifted or twisted. His ratio from his body to his legs were not proportionate. He said it was a long torso, shorter legs. And I said, oh, you're saying dwarfism. And I said, oh, if it's a dwarf, I can deal with that. Right? No problem. He was like, Miss Cooper, this child will not survive. That's what he told me. This child will not survive. It turned out he was just a placenta previa baby. Like, I actually was calling everybody to try to stop this because the time was running out on me to get I had a statute, it was time that if I waited, then I was too far along to get the termination. But anyway, long story short, I found this amazing woman, and she called me because I left messages on everybody's machine. My name is Nikia Cooper. They said I need to terminate my baby, but I saw him. I think that he's all right. I think that it's wrong. I remember the lady doing the ultrasound she was training.
Holy smoke.
That's what I'm telling you. Let me tell you something. Woman called me. She said, my name is Gail. I'm at the mammography and ultrasound clinic. She was over here on South Rice. She said, if you can get here within an hour. She says, I'm off today. I was just coming up here to check my record. Check things. I played my phone messages. I hear you. Can you get here in an hour? My mother hightailed it from Crosby to Houston, which is like an hour, picked me up, rushed me there. My other cousin were there the minute. And she said, we have 3D ultrasound technology. That's when that was new. Cut that bad boy on. Bam. There go my baby's legs. She said, there's legs go right there. They were long.
So long.
There's this and that. Nothing was wrong with this baby. And when I gave birth to him, I went into that ultrasound clinic that gave me that last report, and I held him up. And I said, you know me, look at me. You already know, y'all can tell I'm a little bit off. And I said,
a little bit.
Look at him. Look at him. You told me to get rid of him.
But you know what? So so that experience is like Tiffany Haddish, right? Is not unique for Black women because the stats show that about 20% of pregnancies end in miscarriage, with Black women being 43% more likely to experience pregnancy loss than white women. And you know what? As far as doting, as far as doting on your child, let me end by saying this, Nikia. I have 5, and they all just about grown. 3 of them are grown. 2, one of them is about to be grown, and then the other one won't be too far behind. And I will dote on them until I take my last breath. And they are not spoiled. They get just about everything they want. And they're not spoiled. There's a way to do that. And what's Power 96? So let's end on a positive note. That's my positive note.
That's the positive note. My positive note is that Tiffany Haddish will be successful, and she will have her baby, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. We do get that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And let me just tell you something, Tiffany, keep on. And if it's not a child that you conceive and that you carry, there's so many other methods of which you can do a surrogate if that's your option, or that you can adopt a child that's waiting for you to adopt. That's
that's what Tiffany has said. She's thought about it, and the one thing she said too, and just to wrap it all up in a nice bow, is that she has and is considering adoption, but she wants to get to a place where she can give that child undivided attention. And that is another thing.
I gotta say this to you.
You got 10 seconds.
I always tell people, it's never the right time to have a baby. You never can plan. You just gotta go for it. When they come, they're just gonna take over your life. It doesn't matter. It's always the right time to have your baby. Bring them home and figure it out. Love on them because they love you back.
Dr. Nicole says, what a great story, Nikia. Sorry you went through it. Glad it ended well. And glad this ended. Power 96. Did we do it? Power 96. Did we do it? Thanks a lot, y'all. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.